Hi. So last week, Valve had basically dropped a whole bunch of games due to an issue with the payment processors. And it turns out that we found out who exactly is responsible for this, but there's a whole mess of things that are going on as well on top of that. So I figured I would do a video to pretty much sum up a lot of this stuff while leaving it open to where more videos will probably come out covering this, because people are digging up and finding information all the time. There's petitions that are here that are basically coming out. There needs to be, personally, I feel that there needs to be a complete overhaul of how payment processors operate, because they shouldn't have the ability to actually shut down things. I think that's a case-by-case basis that the consumer needs to make themselves of what they're interested in and what they find tolerable to purchase, not having a organization basically do the bidding of certain pressure groups and NGOs. That's my personal feelings on that. But let's actually sum up that information, and I'll let you guys make your judgment on that as well. Steam rules updated to prohibit content that violates rules set forth by payment processors and banks. Now, Valve has updated its rules regarding content that developers aren't allowed to publish on Steam, as reported by GameSpark. The rules and guidelines sections of the Steamworks documentation now has an extra clause, and it suggests that the publishers are required to comply with the rules and standards set forth by various third parties involved in processing electronic payments. The rule seems to be predominantly related to adult content. Now, currently, this is what's been going on in Japan and other places, are that certain things, certain products have been banned, like dakimakuras, basically statues, all sorts of other content that's deemed inappropriate by payment processors, whatever. This has been something that we have seen over there. It's been happening quite often. It's now becoming a thing here, or it's more noticeable now that it actually hits something that people are interested in. I think that's really the problem. What you shouldn't publish on Steam. 15. Content that may violate the rules and standards set forth by Steam's payment processors and related card networks and banks or internet network providers, in particular certain kinds of adult-only content. Now, the problem that I've noticed was that people looked at the situation with Steam and they thought that they were basically bending the knee to these payment processors, but the problem is card carrying or card payment processors control a lot of things. If you're purchasing things online, you have to go through a payment processor, which is based on your personal card, or you have to go through other places like PayPal and such. So these are all things that are being controlled basically by these organizations, and they're being pressured by NGOs that are creating the situation. This isn't a bootlicking situation. This isn't a bending the knee situation. So update. According to SteamDB, a large number of games have been removed from the platform in the past 16 hours. Judging from the list, it appears that sex simulator type games with keywords such as incest and slavery make up for the majority. There are some confusing cases, like the removal of the Ace Attorney inspired investigation game Trails of Innocence, although this could be a coincidental deletion. What that sounds like to me is that they are going off of certain words. Like, they'll put words in a filter, and anything that comes up with those words are probably subject to deletion due to trying to figure out what is adult content or what is inappropriate content in this instance. This is the shotgun approach. The shotgun approach, if you're shooting something with buckshot, you're going to cover a wide area, but it indiscriminately hits things that shouldn't be hit. On a related note, various video game and manga hosting platforms in Japan have recent years ran into trouble with payment processors and credit card networks due to certain content on the platform going against the often undisclosed rules and standards of third parties handling payments. The platforms ended up without support for credit card payment. This has led to a loss of revenue and even the closure of platforms such as Manga Library Z. It is possible that Steam's new rules is a means to prevent such complications from arising. However, as the specific rules and standards of the payment processors are also unclear, publishers might need to be extra cautious when releasing their games on a platform. Again, this is one of those situations where this is leading to some really bad outcomes. And even if people were to turn around and try to make an adult site for those types of games, or like an adult version of Steam After Dark front end or whatever for adults only content or those types of games, that will possibly could get shut down again. because the payment processors are basically being pressured by these NGOs. So now that I told you this, I want you to actually take a look at the type of people that are behind this, because this was apparently something that was so wild that those pressure groups turned around and got rid of the person writing this article. So those of you who hang out on the internet and are familiar with certain YouTubers like Kirsha should be familiar with this name, Anna Valens. Now, I'm not going to go into the full details on that because that's for another time, but this article actually has some interesting words about the people that are behind the pressuring of Steam getting rid of their games. So, group behind Steam censorship policies have powerful allies and targeted popular games with outlandish claims. One of the allies even believes that Honey Pop should be banned from Steam. Now, Honey Pop is probably the tamest of those games. But yeah, over the past week, gamers have heavily criticized Australian group Collective Shout, the radical feminist organization that has taken responsibility for changes to Steam's payment processors that resulted in removal of various adult games with taboo themes. As Collective Shout wrote on its official website today, the group has targeted nearly 500 games for removal on Steam, with 81 titles that the group still wants delisted from Valve's storefront. As concerned consumers have dug into Collective Shout's history to better understand its future plans, many have missed a key aspect hiding in the public eye. Collective Shout has the backing of several prominent anti-pornography groups. So this kind of ties back to the whole Goonergate situation that was going on a couple months ago. I've covered that in a previous video. I'll probably link it up above there so you can actually take a look at that. On July 11th, Collective Shout published an open letter to the CEOs behind PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, PaySafe, Discover, and JCB on the post. Collective Shout includes signatures from executives at such censorship-prone organizations such as the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, or NCOSE, and Exodus Cry. Other allies include groups such as the Coalition Against Trafficking Women in the UK, Cease. Both NCOSE and Exodus City have previously encouraged the removal of certain online content they deem harmful, with NCOSE in particular taking a strong focus on Steam. Now, the problem I'm seeing here, and this is kind of an issue, is that trying to eradicate certain things off the internet is not going to make the situation better. If anything, it usually creates worse situations. When you have instances of people wanting to remove adult content entirely off of the internet, you are setting up a Pandora's box for certain things, and mainly just echoing things that have happened already in our history, namely the Prohibition period. Creating a situation where you are banning adult content and prostitution and all sorts of stuff being eradicated from existence only pushes that stuff into the deepest, darkest recesses. And the sad part is it creates more problems than it's worth. Yes, it's not on the surface anymore. Now, yes, you can't see those things anymore. It's a better, brighter day because all those things are now banned. But now you've created black markets that exist, you've created more instances for trafficking, and you have basically pushed everything into the dark web, which is now creating a larger problem than what you had before. So that's why eradication or total eradication is not a great idea. It's not an optimal idea. In fact, if you're willing to do that, you're going to get significant pushback. And things that are taboo and are hidden away are the things that are often most sought out, because now you have created no situation for those people to actually get that content. So in 2018, NCOSE previously targeted a series of visual novels on Steam, briefly threatening the removal of those on Valve's digital storefront. Steam ultimately reversed the decision to ban these games, instead opening the door to adult content on the platform. Since 2018, NCOSE has repeatedly mentioned Steam in various articles, almost as if the anti-porn organization has been waiting for an opportunity to go viral with the censorship campaigns on this platform. Did the group play a pivotal role in pressuring American payment processors to change their policies towards Steam? Plausible. NCOSE, which originally began as the Religious Morality and Media Organization, is a conservative group based in the US. Honeypop, a game available on Steam, a popular gaming platform that sells and distributes thousands of video games for all sorts of systems, including the PC, Mac, mobile devices, and more, NCOSC wrote on its website in 2020. Steam must be held accountable for not only allowing this game on their platform, but for providing proficient parental controls and safety features that make sure games of this nature are found by especially vulnerable children. Which is a problem for me, because as a parent, and as somebody that actually does have pretty good uses of using technology in order to monitor my children's activities on games such as Roblox and the internet, I feel that the concept and the idea of getting other people or the state to actually take care of your children, when in reality that is your responsibility. You brought those children into this world. You are responsible for how those children should be raised and how they should be taken care of, not the government, not the state, not anybody else. You, as a parent, need to go and get onto your router, block certain sites so that your children don't get to those sites, instead of trying to bubble wrap the entirety of the world to match your own poor moral compasses. Meanwhile, Exodus Cry led a viral online crusade against the hub in 2020, resulting in significant changes to the world's most popular adult content platform. Free Speech Coalition's Mike Stabile had previously described Exodus Cry as a faith-based activist group that believes all pornography and sex work needs to be banned. 2002, Exodus Cry argued in a news post that online searches for video games, Fortnite, and Pokemon lead children to graphic sexual content. The article proceeded to criticize Animal Crossing New Horizons inspired Anka Zone, an SFW dancing meme, for using a character from a popular children's video game. The phrasing is misleading. New Horizons was actually the most popular with adults in their 20s and 30s due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So basically, because somebody decided that they were going to make fan art of an existing character, or have fan art that's based on a children's game or something, a perceived children's game, that's cause for online searches to be tapered off or whatever. Now, it's just one of those things where you want the internet to basically do everything that you can't do as a parent. And I want to believe in my heart of hearts that a lot of these people that are pushing for this shit don't have children of their own, and they don't understand how any of that stuff works, so therefore they don't understand the process. If you were a parent and you were that interested in trying to prevent children from accessing certain things, you would do your level best to figure out how to go into your router's access and block out those sites or block out certain search words. That's what a normal person would do. An activist, somebody that's actually trying to alter the entirety of the world to suit whatever weird shit you got going on in your mind, would try to get everything banned and thus alienate generations of children to get away from your bullshit and go even harder in whatever it is they're interested in. Vice has reached out to both Exodus Cry and Nukos to understand the organizers' involvement with Collective Shout's campaign. Yesterday, Vice requested specific details from Collective Shout on Steam games that, per the organization, depict child abuse, quote unquote. As of yet, the group has not clarified which games portray the subject matter and how. As this reporter covered yesterday, it seems incredibly unlikely that any adult games on Steam depict underage characters in sexual scenarios. Valve previously pulled a visual novel over a hidden inaccessible file of an 18+ scene with a character that Valve considered underage, even though the game's publisher denied the claim. The visual novel was only restored to Steam when the offending file was removed. So I wonder if that Chain of Innocence game is the game in question that they're talking about here. Just so you understand the group that we are dealing with and their collective allies, I want to show you what exactly it is that they're against, and that it's not going to stop with video games just like it didn't stop with anime. Collective Shout has previously spoken out against Hooters restaurant chain, which is known for objectification of women and girls, because those girls themselves did not go in for an interview, get a uniform, and decide to work those hours because they wanted to make money. That accountability thing that women seem to forget or just ignore always seems to come into play in these situations. OF is an online subscription-based content creation platform used primarily to sell adult content. Again, the accountability factor. comes into play here, because clearly there is none. Grand Theft Auto. Sony blocks release of game where players sexually abuse schoolgirls. Sony's blocked the Western release of an adult role-playing game that saw a player undress schoolgirls and fondle their breasts while on a quest. Supposedly that's Grand Theft Auto, but there's anime girls here. So I don't know what exactly you're talking about. 50 Shades of Grey, written by movement director Melinda Tankard Rice. I want you to remember that name because that's going to play a large part in the back half of this video. 50 Shades trilogy, violence and emotional abuse are presented as sexy or romantic. Now they're coming after your smut, ladies. So I wouldn't get too complacent. If the video games are being taken away, they're going to go for the smut next. And going after women's smut is really going to lead to some really interesting outcomes. I'm telling you. Calendar Club. We respond to Calendar Club's defense of porn-themed calendars. Earlier this month, we exposed Calendar Club as a retail pop-up store selling a range of adult-themed calendars, including sexualized pinups depicting women as sexual playthings. Women cannot have any autonomy whatsoever. Carl's Jr. Sexist ad drags women back to the dark ages. Any instance of you actually being attractive and being able to sell a hamburger to somebody is going to cause these people to have a conniption fit, and they're going to ultimately take away your ability to be in that. So booth babes all over again, bras and things. So even women's lingerie is off the table. Sales of Playboy licensed merchandise revive the once struggling empire of adult content. The profits made from this brand are at the expense of women who are harmed in the making and consumption of pornography. So wearing lingerie is not a good thing. It's a no bad thing. I wonder if Victoria's Secret is going to fall victim of this as well. Are they going to go after Victoria's Secret? Probably not, because Victoria's Secret would tell them where to stick their opinion. But they're going to go after smaller brands like bras and things, so they can actually get those guys knocked out. And that's very important, because the exploitation of women supersedes comfort, being attractive, basically being interesting to the opposite sex, or alluring to the opposite sex whatsoever. What's happiness when feminism is the main dragon devouring the countryside? And also X, apparently, because Elon Musk needs to change his platform and get all of the adult content off in order to make way for everything else. Gab is like over there. Gab is right over there. You could easily go to Gab and you probably get a better experience. You can go to Blue Sky and never mind what I just said. It's not an accident. The platform deliberately permits explicit content provided it's labeled correctly. The platform justifies this by stating that sexual expression, whether visual or written, can be a legitimate form of artistic expression. So those of you who are saying that classifying games as art is going to save it or allow it some protections against censorship, no, that's not going to happen. Sorry. Never mind the fact that people can still use crypto or any of that other stuff. They want to make it so that the average person, the normie, you can't use your fiat currency in order to purchase things that you busted your ass to get, because you wanted those things. You worked 40-hour work weeks for those things. You wanted to have something to show for your hard work and a lot of the grueling crap. If you worked retail like I did, you had to deal with Karens, you had to deal with all these other people. And it's funny because like I worked at Walmart for 10 years. I worked at Target for 1. I've seen more Karens in my career at Target than I did at Walmart. Walmart, you just had crazy people. Target, you had Karens galore. A lot of entitled, affluent women seeming to think that they could just do whatever the hell they want for whatever reason, or tell you their opinion despite your stocking shelves. It's wild times. Remember that name I told you about, Melinda Tankard Rice? All these sick-brained, rotted, pedo gamer fetishists are so desperate to get their hands on my little sister incest games that they're now exchanging clues on how to find them so they don't all die overnight. She sounds like a really, really happy person, really fulfilled, enlightened person of a lot of moral strength and fortitude. So this is a post from Savvy responding to that. Collective Shout has quite the gaggle of geese. How about we talk about your past a bit? You were driven by faith and conservative moral instead of real social commitment. You were once an advisor, and a year after you started, Heritage worked to restrict safe abortion pills that were available worldwide and affecting developing areas of Australia. So again, when I said that they're not even interested in the slightest bit of bodily autonomy for women, you don't get to wear lingerie, you don't get to pick where you get your lingerie from, you don't get to work at Hooters, you don't get to be like in any form where you get to show off your body or model or any way, shape, or form, and you don't get to handle your bodily autonomy rights or choosing when you can procreate. You have no meaningful education and seem to promote your bogus books quite a lot. Journalists are an annoying mosquito trying to drain whatever industry you can, and even ridiculous things like maliciously labeling all anime childlike so you can get new power and control, going after popular games like GTA, cheering on censorship, and even ridiculous things like taking pride in bullying a small winery for having a fun ad. You don't care about women, you care about some wrong man did to you, and you want to take it out on everyone else. Ooh, spicy. You use your stupid platform to retweet whatever sounds good, even from people who don't support you, mock you, and even hate women because you put no deeper thought into anything. Ooh. If you make such an easy blunder, how can anyone trust you to actually do any meaningful research? We both know you don't, but you've lied your way into the spotlight, and honey, you got it. There is no stone I don't touch. The journalist says, "Trust me, bro," and wants to use the harshest language possible to avoid being held accountable. But she genuinely believes that women have no agency. They will ban the miniskirt being sold at the shop because women won't stop buying them. I told you it doesn't stop at the fictional subject matter. You, the pro-censorship losers, cheering for them right now, don't like that they're coming for everything. And that's something that needs to be pointed out. Ultimately, no matter what you think on either side of the argument here, they are not stopping with video games like they're not stopping with anime. Even if it's something that makes you feel attractive when you wear it because you are trying to get a certain amount of attention, maybe be it from the club or your husband or your boyfriend or even your girlfriend or whatever. I am judging. But the problem is that everybody is being hit here because you have some really dyed-in-the-wool nutcases running around here trying to use religion as a means of taking away everybody's enjoyment because they're just miserable freaking people. All adult content entails treating another human being as an object for sexual gratification, she argues. Therefore, it is all degrading. Tankard Rice's part, she says that she's not interested in labels. She just wants people to engage with the substance of what she has to say. Call me whatever the hell you want. I don't care, she says. I believe my work is pro-woman, pro-girl. Just let me get on with it. So basically, let her be free to talk about whatever she wants. Even if the information's not accurate, even if it's like damaging to the actual nature of women, even if it actually sets women back further because you just want to say things without people trying to check you on those things. And all this damage that you are doing is just making things worse for everybody across the board, but you don't care because you just want to be right. Accountability be damned. How Collective Shout shames women and girls. It's with some amusement that I wrote that Melinda Tankard Rice Collective Shout claim that they are not slut-shaming women and girls who want to buy and wear clothes that the organization considers sexualizes them. They're not. They claim targeting women and girls who wear the clothes rather are attacking the retailers who sell them. I suppose they are the slutty or retail shaming. So yeah, even if you want to buy this thing, they want to basically come in and make it so that you can't buy these things. I made this comment on RNH when we covered this on Thursday, but really reminds me of that episode where Marge basically gets Itchy and Scratchy taken off of television. And instead of basically covering that as a win and letting it go, they decide to take down everything that they deem problematic because they got a foot in the door once and they got drunk off of their own power. This is I don't like this thing, therefore I don't think everybody else should enjoy it energy, which also is a Marge Simpson quote, is just wild to me. In the year of our Lord 2025, that we have people legitimately talking about basically shutting down things that they don't agree with instead of actually not taking in that content. If they attack retailers who sell the clothes of which they so strongly disapprove, they cannot help but slut shame the women who freely choose to buy and wear them. They are telling women and girls that the clothes sexualize them. That is, it makes them look like tramps and sluts available for male use and abuse. You can't have these clothes, Collective Shout says, because they make you look available. If you won't stop buying them, we'll stop them from being sold. So this is the mentality they're working with here. They're basically making it so if you don't purchase these things, they're not available, so you'll never have those things. And that's the mentality that they're sticking with here, not understanding that you're going to create black markets for those things. If they're not available in the common spaces, they'll be available in the black market. You want to censor things and take things away for other people to enjoy, but then you're going to see more people wear those things out of spite. Because if there's one thing I understand most of all, it's the fact that people do not like being told what to do. And if you try to tell them what to do, they're going to do it harder. But that's where we're at right now. This is the state that we're in dealing with these people. And again, they don't think that far ahead from where they are because they're only thinking in terms of their current objective, not understanding that there's going to come a point where that reckoning is going to hit, and it's going to hit hard. If you're interested, there is a petition to tell MasterCard, Visa, and activist groups stop controlling what we can watch, read, or play. I'm not big on petitions, especially these days, mainly because, I mean, that's a petition, is what it is. And I think there's a better option. You need to contact your payment processors, and you need to actually let them know. Do write-in campaigns, contact them, let them know that they are basically infringing on your personal rights as a consumer, and that you and everybody else wants that content to be available to be used. I think that's a stronger option. I think actually talking to the shareholders of these payment processors is another great option, because the shareholders have a lot more say too, just as much as the consumer does. I would say that also there needs to be a breakup of these businesses to where there are more options for payment processors than just the two that we have. I think that actually would put a lot of things in perspective. And I think basically somebody needs to collectively just slap down these assholes, because it's not going to stop with this group and their dummy corporation backers. There are going to be other groups that try to come out and play the same thing. Honestly, it might even take going to the Supreme Court. There needs to be some sort of precedent set to where this can't be done again. Anyways, I'm out of here. Thank you for joining me for this. See you next boss fight. Take care.